بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So we spoke last time about this man Abdullah ibn Abbas being the model and the leader and the pioneer of Islamic and Qur'anic exegests, tafsir, Qur'anic exegests. He was a leader in explaining the Quran. And his knowledge, you were not here last time, was very vast and extensive in this field. Because he loved this. He loved to learn about the secrets of the Quran. How did it arrive? When did it arrive? Why did it arrive? He was searching. And of course, he followed Imam Ali. Imam Ali was his mentor, his teacher, his cousin. So after the departure of the Prophet, he was 11, 12 years old. So he went after Imam Ali to learn the secrets of the Quran from him and also other scholars and other companions. So whenever there is a name in the Quran, specific, let's say, term or name, he would go after it to find out what that name is, what that term is. Whenever there is a geographic location, he would go after it to know exactly where is this, where the size, where are the boundaries of this geographic location. Whenever the name of tribe or a person or whatever, he would investigate. He was, have you heard investigative journalism? He was investigative mufassir, explainer of the Quran, researcher. And then they say he was the one who invented the linguistic tradition. Linguistic tradition. Because also, as we mentioned yesterday, or the day before yesterday, that some of these terminologies, even the Arabs did not know them. Though the Quran is revealed in Arabic, but some of these terminologies in the Quran were so professional and formal that even some Arabs did not understand it. So he will support his argument in defining these terminologies with what? He supports his argument with what? With poetry, with ancient poetry. When they ask him, what is the meaning of this in the Quran? He says the meaning, and then they say, how do you know? How do you know this is the meaning? He says, look at the Arabic poetry. I have an evidence. This is how they call it in the Arabic literature, Arabic shi'r, poetry. An example of that is chapter 2, verse 200. The second chapter in the Quran, chapter 2, verse 200. God speaks to the Muslims and says to them, when you do the rites of the Hajj, when you go to pilgrimage in Mecca for Hajj, once you conclude your rites in Arafat and in Mina, because you have to go through several stations. You know the Hajj, it has several acts. When you go to pilgrimage, you have to go to several deserts and stay some time there. So God says, when you conclude your rites, فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُم مَنَاسِكَكُمْ, when you conclude your rites in Hajj, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَذِكْرِكُمْ, Hamid, كَذِكْرِكُمْ what? Who knows the ayah? فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ أَوْ أَشَدَّ ذِكْرًا. Remember God when you carry out your rites, then try to remember God ardently in the same fashion that you remembered your fathers. And many people did not understand this. What does that mean? So they come to him. They say, what is the meaning of this verse? He says the Arabs before Islam, They used to go to Hajj. The Arabs, even the pagan ones, because Hajj is one of the ancient rites and traditions. So even the pre-Islamic people, they used to perform the Hajj. And they used to stand after concluding the rites of Hajj, they used to stand in specific locations, and they brag about their families and their fathers and forefathers and their tribes and their achievements. And this one says, my dad was this. The other says, my uncle, my cousin, they brag among themselves. So it was not only a season of pilgrimage, but it was a season of what? Pride and bragging and, and even race, and bigotry and sometimes fightings, So Islam came to tell them that, listen, rather than you stand there and say such and such about your parents and your forefathers and your tribal leaders, remember God instead of that. If you want to be pious, if you want to learn, if you want this Hajj to be productive and you go home not empty-handed, you gain something, then rather than remembering your fathers, aba'akum, remember God. And this is the explanation of Ibn Abbas, which he learned from the Amir al-Mu'mineen and from the Prophet. This is not something he invented, but it is attributed to him because he was asked about this. So if you go to the books of tafsir, they give this answer, they credit this answer to Ibn Abbas because he was asked about it. Are you with me? Otherwise, he didn't invent it. It's not from him. He heard it from the family of the Prophet.
So he didn't get this from poetry then?
No. This one, he took it from Imam Ali, actually. He asked Imam Ali about this. But books of tafsir, they attribute this to Ibn Abbas. The other incident, again, it is in chapter 2, 158. Chapter 2, 158. And I think I have mentioned this before. The Quran states, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ أَن يَطَّوَّفَ بِهِمَا. You know, parts of the rites of Hajj, rites, yeah. This is how it's written. R-I-T-E-S. Of Hajj is that you go back and forth between what? Safa and Marwa. There are two mountains in Mecca. Two mountains. And there is a path between them. So people have to go back and forth. And this has a spiritual symbolism. This trip, because each side is 450 meters, about half a kilometer. So they go back and forth 7 times. It's about 3 kilometers they travel. So it's not only physical journey. They contemplate, they reflect, they meditate when they travel. This is a parable of our journey in this life. We are journeying in this life. And the roots of this journey, Mizuki, the root of it happened 4,000 years ago. When a prophet called Abraham, have you heard of Abraham?
Yes.
Exactly. Abraham, he brought his wife and his son, it was a baby son, and he left them in this desert with no food, no family, no support, and he went back to Palestine. And the baby was here. The baby is here sleeping. And he was thirsty. And the mother, she was searching for water. So she was going back and forth between these two mountains until the baby, he kept hitting the ground with his feet until from underneath his feet, a spring gushed out. Spring of water. And it is still running in Mecca today for 4,000 years. So Muslims, when they go, they have to travel. But the wording of the Quran does not say you have to. What does it say?
It's okay to.
Huh? It's okay to. No blame on him. It doesn't say you have to, atiyah. What does it say, atiyah? It says,
It's like permissible, it's okay.
it says, فَلَا جُنَاحَ. فَلَا جُنَاحَ. No blame. No blame on him. If anyone goes to Hajj or Umrah, no blame on him to go back and forth between these two mountains. This is in chapter 2, verse 158. إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ. Safa, in fact this is Safa. This is Marwa. Min sha'a, they are part of God's rights. Rights. R-I-T-E-S. فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ. Whoever goes to perform Hajj or the minor Hajj. We have the grand Hajj and we have the minor, which is Umrah, called Umrah. فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ. No blame on him to go back and forth between them. أَنْ يَطَّوَفَ بِهِمَا. So they asked Ibn Abbas, why the Quran is using no blame? He could have made it easy and God could have said, you must, rather than saying no blame, then you must. Say you must, so people know. It's an order. Why do you say no blame? So what was the answer, Dr. Umid?
Back in the day, the pagans used to go back and forth between those two and take their idols, so the Muslims were concerned that they would be emulating something that is paganistic, so the language is okay for you to go, like this is okay to do. Don't be fearful.
Before Islam, in the pre-Islamic era, pagans, they placed their idols here. They placed them here, big idols, okay? They placed them on the mountains, and they will go back and forth between them. So when the Prophet came to Mecca, these idols were still there. So the Muslims, they were a bit worried. They did not want to do something which is illegal or immoral. They did not want to go into this area where there are idols. They wanted to stay away from them. Because idols in Islam, they looked upon very, how do I say, the statues or the idols negatively. So they wanted to stay away from them. The Quran tells them, rather than telling them, you must go here, he says, if you want to go, there is no blame. Don't worry. No worries. No blame on you. It means, in another word, you may go. You may go. Okay? And this is again is attributed to Ibn Abbas. Now, there is a debate, my friends, among the scholars, among the Muslim scholars and non-Muslim. Some of them are non-Muslim, you know. Some of the scholars of the Islamic Qur'anic science are non-Muslim. They are, some of them Jews, some of them Christians. There is a debate among them as whether Muslims were allowed to ask non-Muslim leaders during the time of the Prophet and after or not. There is a debate, ongoing debate. whether they were okay to ask Ahlul Kitab, Ahlul Kitab, which is the people of book. Who are, Mizuki, who are people of book? It's a reference to whom? No. Muslims is Muslims. They call them Muslims. In the book it calls them Muslims. But whenever this term comes up, it means the Christians and the Jews. Because they had book. They have book. Okay? Divine book or divine scripture. So, and scholars are divided when it comes to the answer whether yes you are allowed or no you are not allowed. They are divided.
So allowed to ask them what?
Religious questions, theological, philosophical. Some of them say that the Prophet said don't ask the people of book. Don't ask. Especially when it comes to what? What sort of questions? Don't ask them. Theological. About the foundations of religion, the existence of God, the nature of God, the prophets, the books, the day of judgment. These are foundations of religion. So don't ask them. This is what they say. They say, you may ask them something which is not foundational. Something which does not have that much importance, such as what?
Story of Prophet.
Exactly, because the stories of the Prophet, we have them in the Old Testament, we have them in the New Testament, and we have them in the Quran. So if you want to ask, let's say, some people would go and ask them about the size of Noah's ship, ark, huh? What size? Maybe they tell you, for instance, it was this size. Or what was the type of the wood used in building that ship? Doesn't matter. What was the name of the mother of Moses, for instance? Or in the story of Moses in chapter 18, the story of Moses and his mentor, teacher, Al-Khidr. When the Khidr came and he murdered a boy. What is the name? Some people are, they are curious. They have nothing to do. They ask, Sayyid, can I ask, what was the name of that boy? What difference it makes? They say one day,
Wants to be a millionaire.
an imam was giving a lecture, so someone stood and he said, Imam, I have questions. Yeah. He said, what is the name of the mother of Moses? The imam, he doesn't know. And he's right, what difference it makes, This is not his field, He has to be concerned about something more important. So he said, I really don't know. Someone was sitting in the crowd. He said, I know. The imam was amazed. He doesn't know and someone else knows. He told him, what is it? That person said, her name is Mayuha. Mayuha. What is Mayuha? This, by the way, this sounds Japanese, huh? Mayuha?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Not Japanese? He said, how did you know? Where is it? He said, it's in the Quran. The Imam was even more surprised. I read the Quran, I know the Quran, nowhere in the Quran. He said, read the Quran. Surah Taha, إذ أوحينا إلى أمك, O Moses, we revealed to your mother, إذ أوحينا إلى أمك ما يوحى. It's not ma yuha, what we revealed. It means what we revealed to her. He thought that this one means it's her name. أوحينا إلى أمك ما يوحى. You know, you have to understand Arabic. You get this. In the Quran, God says to Moses, I taught your mother, revealed to her how to protect you from being killed. And I told her what I told her. So Mayuha means what I told her. The guy thought Mayuha is the name of the mother of Moses. So these things, if you go and ask the people of book, it's okay. Because these things are not sensitive materials. Yeah. You know them, whether she's Mayuha, Maluta, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. Who cares what's her name, These are not sensitive materials. So the Prophet gave permission, they say, this group says, he gave permission to ask them non-sensitive materials, which really does not make any difference. But don't ask them sensitive things. Don't. You have no right to ask them sensitive things because they might mislead you and give you the wrong answer. And they might confuse you. And some people believe, another group believes that the Prophet said, don't even ask them anything. Neither sensitive nor non-sensitive. Don't ask them. Why do you want to ask? You have the source of knowledge here. You have the Prophet here. Why do you go and ask others when you have the Prophet? So here there is a debate. Some people allege that Ibn Abbas took some of his information about the Quran and the explanation of the Quran from the scholars of the people of the book. The monks, the ahbar. Ahbar is the name of the Jewish leaders, Jewish scholars called ahbar, rabbis. But when you investigate the history, you find out, no, this is not right. This is not right. Let me add something else. When the Prophet came to Medina, to the city of Medina, many accepted Islam. Many people became Muslim. Some of them accepted Islam out of conviction and understanding. It made sense to them. Some of them, they accepted Islam because, just joining the masses, the people. Some people accepted Islam because they had no choice. They were worried about their life and their safety, like Abu Sufyan, one of them. If they don't join the Muslims, they're going to be killed. So it's better to join them. And some, very few, accepted Islam to create some controversies. And some of those people were Jewish, from Yemen, from Medina, from elsewhere. Abdullah ibn Salam is one of them. Abdullah ibn Salam. The other one, Ka'b al-Ahbar. And those people were storytellers. So they would sit in a corner and people gather around them and they tell stories. Some of these stories are not true. Some of these stories are confusing. And Muawiyah being the fifth caliph after Imam Ali, fifth caliph. Muawiyah, he used some of those and he encouraged them to tell stories. Exactly. And these stories they have a nickname in the Islamic tradition, and that nickname is what? Israeliyat. Israelis. Israeliyats. Meaning, these stories, they come from the Hebrew tradition into the Islamic tradition. And they are found in many Muslim books today. Even today you can find. They borrowed them from the Hebrew tradition and biblical tradition into the Islamic tradition. So the Prophet was forewarning his community not to take news from others, because they will confuse you. And therefore, some accused Ibn Abbas that he heard some of his stories from these sources. But when you investigate, you find out this is not true. Ibn Abbas was very careful, extremely careful with his sources. He would not get from any source unless he verifies the source, unless the source is authentic. He would not ask any source. Okay?
What was the motivation, say, to discredit him?
Yeah, to discredit him, yes,
Why?
exactly.
What was the motivation to
Well,
discredit him?
many, there are many reasons. One of them is jealousy. The other thing, because remember, Ibn Abbas was on the side of the family of the Prophet. Many people did not like this. And remember, Ibn Abbas said the most important hadith about what happened to the Prophet before his death. And that hadith, the Sunni tradition, they cannot defend themselves when it comes to this hadith. The hadith of the catastrophe, the Thursday catastrophe, Raziyatul Khamis. Do you know about it? Dr. Ali, you know about it?
Yeah, when they called the Prophet,
Pen and paper. Bring me pen and paper. And Umar said, don't give him.
he's not in his mind.
Ibn Abbas, he mentions this. So some of them, they don't like this. And Ibn Abbas says, I'm still remorseful. I'm still hurt about that day. And he was a child that day. He was only 10, 11 or 12. But he still remembered that with pain. He would remember it till the end of his life. And he would always says, Ar-raziyatu mar-raziyah. The catastrophe, what a big catastrophe. When the Prophet, before his death, he wanted to write his will, and they said, we don't accept that from you. They didn't allow him. So many people don't like Ibn Abbas for this. So they want to discredit him. So they attribute to him that he received many of his ahadith and even the tafsir, the explanation of the Quran, from unreliable sources. But when you investigate, you find Ibn Abbas was a pure. He was a smart. And he was very keen on keeping his sources clean. He would not write anything or say anything or transmit anything unless it is from a accredited source, authentic source. And in fact, this guy, he was encouraged by Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. If you want to know more about what I am talking about, I have a book, the book called When Power and Piety Collide. If you are interested in doing more research, I will give you the book. You have to read it. This book is called When Power and Piety Collide. It tells you the story of the death of the Prophet and what happened just before his death and after his death. and what led into the Shia Sunni schism. It's written in this book. Probably one day you translate this book to Japanese. So he was, this man, of course, this man died year 32, before Muawiyah became caliph. Before. Muawiyah became caliph in 41. But Muawiyah, remember, before that, where was he?
Syria?
In Syria. In Syria. Muawiyah from the 20s. 20s he was in Syria. So this guy would go to him in Syria and he would receive support from him because he was the governor of Syria. So he died during the reign of the third caliph, Uthman ibn Affan. But he was supported by Muawiyah because Muawiyah had resources, Okay. And of course, Ibn Abbas, he didn't, many historians believe that he did not even have the need to go to ask those, When you have the source, authentic source with you, the family of the Prophet, why do you go to people who would mislead you? So he didn't even have, sometimes you are cut off, you are stuck with those people in one country, in one area. But when you are not, you have many other access. So why do you go to people who are well known for their lies? Now, what did we say? If you remember when we started this class, we posed an important question. And the question says, is ijtihad allowed in the interpretation of the Quran? Is it allowed to use ijtihad? Mazuki, what is ijtihad?
It's jihad.
No, don't say jihad now.
Sorry. But I don't know.
How do you spell opinion?
O-P-I-N-I-O.
O-N, O-P-I-N. O-P-I-N-O-N, yeah. It is no. See, Mazuki, ijtihad is different than jihad.
Yeah, sorry.
Jihad using the gun.
Yeah.
Ijtihad using your brain. Big difference. Yeah. Ijtihad using your personal opinion. So, do you remember this discussion? So what was the answer?
You don't introduce bias
Hmm?
in the Quran. You're not equipped to even try to explain the Quran using your own opinion. And there's bias included.
You have to follow very strict criteria.
Exactly. If you follow the procedure, there is a procedure. There is a procedure, specific procedure. If you follow it, then yes, you can use ijtihad. Because this procedure is going to allow you, at the end of the day, to unfold the mysteries of the Quran, to understand the Quran fully. You spend time investigating. So if you follow that procedure, which was drawn and presented to us, then yes, of course, you can use, because God wants you to use your intelligence. The interpretation of the Quran, my friends, does not mean that I hear every piece of interpretation about every single verse in the Quran. I hear it from the Prophet or his family or the Imams or... No. Doesn't mean. Some of them I hear it from them. Some of them I find it out. If I follow the procedure, the right procedure. But if I try to invent, what is the difference between invention and ijtihad? What is the difference between this ijtihad, it's called ijtihad, yes? Ijtihad versus bid'ah. Bid'ah, invention. What is the difference between them?
There's no basis for invention.
Of course, this is, there is no basis. This is illegal, this is legal. But what is the difference between them? Because both of them are personal opinion. Both of them are personal opinion. But why one of them, which is ijtihad, is legal and bid'ah is illegal? While both of them are personal opinion.
The first one was, you said, based on a procedure, on a process.
Exactly. This personal opinion, which is called ijtihad, is based on principles. Based on principles. Based on a specific procedure that has been given to us by the prophets and the imams. Some of these procedures are what? Or principles? Hamid, some of them.
You interpret Quran by using other ayahs in Quran.
By using other verses in the Quran. By knowing the occasion of descent, asbab al-nuzul. You know exactly why and when, for what reason this verse came. This is also important. Okay? By knowing other sciences of the Quran, such as what? Am and khas. General, this verse is general. This verse is specific. Mutlaq and muqayyad. This verse is unrestricted. This verse is confined and restricted to this situation, to this village, to this person, to this family. Mutlaq and muqayyad. Nasikh and mansukh. Abrogating and abrogated. This verse came first for a while. Then another verse came to abrogate it, to cancel it, remove it, make it inactive. So the second one is a substitute. So if you know these things, if you know these principles and procedures, then this is ijtihad, and ijtihad is okay. Because God wants you to use your intelligence in understanding His word. He wants you to use. He wants you to think. He wants you to incorporate your brain. He wants you to deduce. He wants you yourself to reach to what He's saying. Yes, it's very nice to learn what this one said, what this mufassir, this mufassir, this mufassir, 500. You read their opinions. But that does not mean that you must follow it. If you come up yourself with a new idea that they missed, then let it be. There is nothing wrong with that. This is ijtihad. And the Quran is an ocean which is bottomless. Does not mean that those who were before you, they really exhausted their effort and they know everything about the Quran. No. I know some people who wrote the tafsir of the Quran, many volumes, 20 volumes, when they were in their 40s. When he reached his 60s, he amended it. He changed many of his theories and opinions because he spent another 20 years studying. So he found things that he did not find earlier. New theories, new facts, new revelations. So using the procedure, you are licensed. Licensed or licensed? Licensed. Whereas this one, you have no license. You are illegal. Because you are saying something which has no roots, no basis. No basis. And this is the problem today with some, from some countries, you know. I don't want to mention. They read translation. He doesn't even have a tafsir book. And he comes and he says, no, this is what God wants to say. This is bid'ah, innovation, because you did not study. You did not go to school. You did not know what the imams, what the Prophet said. How do you bring your own opinion? And believe me, some of them, this is my personal testimony. Some of them, they do not read the Quran properly. They don't read it properly. How can, when you don't read the Quran, when you don't understand the Arabic terms, how can you give your own personal opinion? This is bid'ah. For those, the Prophet said, the hadith, the famous hadith. What did he say? We read the hadith earlier. Exactly. من فسر القرآن برأيه. Whoever dares to translate the Quran and gives his opinion with his own personal opinion without any backgrounds, without legitimate background. برأيه, this is the meaning. Not this one, huh? This one also برأيه, but with legitimate background. I'm standing on a platform, legitimate platform. So I draw from my experience, from my studies. برأيه هلك, he will perish. So did Ibn Abbas use, can we say, he used his ijtihad? Yes. His ijtihad after extensive studies, dedicating his entire life to study the Quran? Yes. After that, you can be mujtahid in the Quran. You can be mujtahid because all your opinions has roots. They are not baseless. They are based upon theories in the Quran and specific traditions in the Quran. So this type of ijtihad is acceptable. And therefore this saying has been attributed to Ibn Abbas, and I conclude with this. إني لآتي على آية من كتاب الله تعالى. When I approach a specific verse of the book of God, فوددت أن المسلمين كلهم يعملون منها مثل ما أعلم. I come across a verse in the Quran and I have studied this, the background of this verse. I know everything about it, why it came, how it came, what was the reason, what was the occasion. And I wish all the Muslims, they know what I know. But unfortunately, 99.9% of the Muslims, they just read the book and they know nothing about the background. Many of them scholars. Many of those imams that we have in the mosques today, they read a verse, but believe me, they don't read the book. They don't read the tafsir. They don't. They don't know the complications, complexity of this verse. They don't know. They know nothing about it. They might read the English translation, but they don't read the background, the occasion of descent, the theories, what the Prophet said, what the legitimate imams and companions said about it. They don't. This is why we have a problem. We have a problem. I think, this is my personal opinion, I think if we only study the Quran with open-mindedness, number one, and depth, number two, and not being biased. Neutrality and we go to the right source of tafsir, we can find guidance in the same book. But people don't go after that. People memorize the Quran, but they don't reflect upon it. Someone asked me, how do you prove Imam Ali is the Imam after the Prophet? I said, read the Quran. He said, in the Quran? I said, of course in the Quran. Many chapters in the Quran. But you read, but you don't reflect. You don't reflect. I'll give you one of them. 555. 555. Just one. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. Your leaders and guardians are only God, His apostle, and the one who gives alms while he is bowing. And when you come to the tafsir of the Sunni traditions, they tell you that Imam Ali was bowing down and someone came asking for help. He extended his hand and he gave him his ring. And this verse immediately came. It's in the Sunni tradition. You need a little bit of reflect and stay away from bigotry. Don't say this is my family, this is my reputation, I lose my friends. Don't. Stay out of politics. If you stay out of politics, you can find the truth. Because God says, this book, in the first surah, Surah Al-Baqarah, Alif Lam Mim, ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. The second chapter, he says this book, لا ريب, no doubt about it. In this book, there is guidance for those who are pious, who leave politics aside, who really seek God's guidance. They can find it. They can find the answers in this book. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.